Over the past decade in the NBA, there have been many dynasties that have taken the league by storm and dominated for years. Throughout the early 2000s, it was a constant battle between Kobe and Shaq's Lakers and Tim Duncan's Spurs, but when these two dynasties ended their dominance, shortly after a new one came into existence that shocked the league, that dynasty being the Golden State Warriors. It's no secret that since 2015, the Warriors have put the league on notice with a new era of talent, and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson centered heavily around shooting the three ball. But after losing Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson due to injury, the Warriors dynasty has seemingly collapsed over the past couple of seasons, which means that this team will be looking to make a major move to bounce back. But what if I told you that the NBA doesn't want this to happen? Today we have to talk Warriors, and in particular the fact that the league is against them making a move for free agent superstar Kawhi Leonard. And let me just say that you'll want to stay tuned for the whole video, because there have been some news about Kawhi that we'll be discussing as well, and it might just surprise you. But before we get into all that, if you've been enjoying the content lately, it would be absolutely clutch if you subscribe if you're new and join the Woods crew. Fun fact, over 95% of you guys who have been watching the videos consistently aren't even subscribed. So if you just hit that sub button below, I could go full time very soon and make videos like this every single day. Since losing to the Toronto Raptors in the 2019 NBA Finals, it seems like nothing can go right for the Warriors. Between superstar Kevin Durant leaving because he wanted to prove the haters wrong, to Klay Thompson suffering back-to-back severe injuries, this team has been plagued by bad luck. But this offseason, they may have a chance to turn it around. Despite Steph Curry having one of the best seasons of his career, the Warriors team in general had a far from perfect year, being that they finished with a record of 39-33, which is absolutely insane considering that they made it to the finals 2 years prior. Now I know that this team lost two of their best stars, but they still had solid role players that could help Curry win, right? Well, as much as I want to say that was true, it was just far from the case this season. Sure, this team had guys like Oubre and Wiggins who took strides, but it was not nearly enough to make up for the fact that this team only had one true star, which meant they were bound for failure this season from the start. But because of this, it was clear that the Warriors will have to make some moves this offseason, because their franchise player Steph Curry is on the last year of his deal, and for the sake of his legacy, could very well leave this team if they fail to make any strides next year and lose once again. With that being said, the Warriors are not in panic mode yet, but they will need to make some big trades for a star to help Curry, being that Klay Thompson reportedly won't even return to playing until a couple months into the season. There have been many names that have been thrown around for the Warriors trades because of the fact that this team is perfectly set up to get anyone they want. I mean, this Warriors team has all their picks, a young star in James Wiseman, and a cap filler in Andrew Wiggins to make any deal work. It just seems like this team is destined to make a move because they are perfectly set up to do so. But what if instead of making a trade for a disgruntled star, this team goes big and tries to get the best available free agent? You guessed it, I'm talking about Kawhi Leonard. And with the rumors about him spiraling, I believe there's a decent chance that he goes to the Dubs. But in my eyes, the NBA doesn't want this to happen. If you've been keeping up with the NBA over the past few years, you would know that it has been debatably some of the best basketball that we've seen for some time now. And I think that it is because of one thing and one thing only, that being parity. From 2015 to 2019, it seemed like it was either going to be the Warriors or Cavs who won the championship no matter what, which led to many fans getting upset despite the fact that they were witnessing history in the making with the Warriors dynasty. But after the Raptors championship in 2019, we have been seeing the NBA become as competitive as ever, with a new wave of young talent giving the veterans some real competition. Now I know, many players in the 2021 NBA playoffs got injured this year, but we did see guys like Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Giannis, and more play very high level basketball, and honestly, going into the majority of the series in the playoffs this year, no one really knew who would win. This isn't just my take, because the stats about this don't lie. During the midst of the Warriors dynasty in the 2015-2016 season, they ended with a record of 73-9, which in itself shows that there was a lack of competition for them. And in the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers also were at the number one spots with a record of 57-25. In both the East and Western Conference, there was only one team within striking distance of the Warriors and Cavs record-wise, those teams being the Spurs and Raptors, who were within less than 10 games of these teams. But after that, the competition seemingly fell off hard, being that the other teams were at least 9 games away from the Cavs and Warriors, which made it clear that unless something crazy happened, these teams would in fact be in the finals. This trend of lack of competition for these teams followed after this season, because not only did the Warriors and Cavs meet in the finals for the first time in 2015, but they also did it again for the next 3 years. At this time, many NBA fans that weren't supporters of the Warriors and Cavaliers got upset, because it was the exact same thing year after year after year, and it honestly seemed like these teams would dominate forever. But then the Warriors team got injured and LeBron went to LA, which, to say the least, had a tremendous impact on the league league ever since. Remember when I said the next best teams besides the Spurs were at least 9 games away from the Cavs and Warriors? Well, this year was a different story, and shows that we finally have parity in the league. During the 2021 regular season, the Philadelphia 76ers won the Eastern Conference with a regular season record of 49-23, and the Jazz won the West with a record of 52-20. But what makes this crazy is the fact that the teams that follow are nearly as good as the winners record-wise. In fact, as opposed to the next best team in the 2015-2016 season being 9 wins away, in both cases the 6th seed in the West and East were 9 games away from the 1st seed, which in itself shows how much more competitive things have been. Teams like the Suns, Jazz, 76ers, and Knicks have all emerged as solid playoff teams, if not contenders, led by their young stars, and to say the least, it has been very fun to watch. But what's the point of all this? Yeah, the league got more competitive over the past couple years, but why? Well, aside from LeBron going to LA, there has only been one major change in the landscape of the league, that being the Warriors have been out of the picture for the past 2 years. Because of the fact that the Warriors dynasty crumbled, this gave teams with 1 or 2 stars a much better chance to compete and contend against the best teams in the league, which is exactly why the NBA doesn't want this team to acquire Kawhi Leonard during the offseason. It has been clear over the past few years that Kawhi Leonard is one of the highest impact players in the league. Between his defensive abilities to his clutch gene, Leonard is one of the worst players to go up against when playing at the highest level. In his 2019 run with the Raptors, Kawhi showed that he didn't even need another superstar to win and crush the Warriors dynasty, so just imagine if he joined them this year. Kawhi would undeniably make the Warriors the best, or at least tied for the best team in the league, and if everyone was healthy, we could very well see 2 dynasties in the Warriors and Nets battle it out year after year, just like the Warriors and Cavs did a couple years ago. If Kawhi Leonard took his talents to the Bay, the league would go crazy, and there would be many people upset. But honestly, I think that this is the best possible move for the Warriors to make, because of a reason that you might not have thought about. Now, I know it's obvious that getting Kawhi would be the best for this team because he is literally the best player available, but I think that because he is injured, the Warriors could lock in Steph Curry for the rest of his prime. You might be thinking, why would Steph re-sign if Kawhi is injured? Well, according to multiple sources, Kawhi Leonard suffered a partial ACL tear during his playoff run with the Clippers. And because it requires surgery, many are saying that he will not be back on the court until the playoffs next year, and maybe not even at all. Because of this, there's a very good chance that Steph and Klay wouldn't have much time to play with Kawhi, which I believe would almost guarantee that Curry signs an extension so he can try to win with Kawhi, because there is literally no better option if he were to go elsewhere. Because of this, the Warriors need to try and pry Kawhi Leonard away from the LA Clippers, and even though it might seem unlikely, there is still a chance they could get a deal done, so let's get into exactly how they could do it. It has been made clear that Leonard will likely opt out of the last year of his contract, because if he does, he will be eligible to get more money on this deal, being that he has now been in the league for 10 years. Now, there is a chance that Kawhi waits until next year because there will be more notable free agents and he is injured right now. But as of right now, the plan reportedly is that he will opt out of the last year of his deal because it's just common sense. If this is the case, there are 2 ways that the Warriors could get this deal done. The most likely way being a sign and trade with the Clippers, or trading away expensive pieces to other teams so that they can clear cap space or the claw. I honestly think that the sign and trade is the most likely because Kawhi and the Clippers have a very good relationship, so they would more than likely cooperate to trade him wherever he wants. Not to mention that they wouldn't want to lose him for nothing, so they make this move to get at least some solid pieces in return. In the case of the sign and trade, Kawhi Leonard would likely opt out of his last year of his contract and sign a new 4-year deal for anywhere around $38 million a year. In this case, the Warriors would send off Andrew Wiggins to make up for a majority of the salary, James Wiseman who would be well worth it for Kawhi, and draft capital if needed. This would give the Clippers a solid player in Wiggins, but more importantly James Wiseman, and draft capital to kickstart their rebuild. Because the harsh truth is, if Kawhi wants out, this team will have to go back into rebuild mode. Now, there is a very good chance that Kawhi stays with the Clippers this year because of his injury and the fact that this team actually did very well without him, but we really never know what the Claw is thinking until he takes action. If he does leave the Clippers though, the Warriors are the favorites to get Kawhi because they have everything that he needs, including being in California, which honestly makes me believe that there is a solid chance that he goes there. And if he does, it's safe to say that the parity in the NBA could shift once again and the Nets and Warriors could battle it out for years to come. Whether or not Kawhi leaves the Clippers is up for debate, but if you do want to see the best trades the Warriors can make to get a star this offseason, feel free to check out the video that is popping up on the screen shortly. Thank you all so much for watching, I'll catch you on the next one, Woods out.